Solvay Latin 1 students, welcome back. And today I wanted to do a fact of the day with you guys before I go over your homework assignments from yesterday. Just a couple of reminders. We're working on chapter 15 right now, third declension neuter nouns. We'll probably be ready for a quiz on that at the end of next week. So not this week, but the end of next week, maybe Friday or so, we'll be ready for a quiz on chapter 15. So you got plenty of time to practice, plenty of time to study, plenty of time to come see me during my office hours if you have any questions at all, okay? This particular fact of the day could be on the next quiz, so I want to take you through it now. And then I will also go over exercise A, which was your homework yesterday, so you can make sure you did it right, look over anything you might have had questions about. Today's fact of the day will be the story of Theseus and Ariadne. And I put a few other names here, so pause it on this screen or come back to this screen if there's any names from the story you can't spell or anything like that, and I'll try to spell out things. But this story also involves a creature called the Minotaur. So let me tell you where the Minotaur comes from. First of all, the Minotaur was born on an island called Crete, which is a large island to the south of Greece, the largest Greek island. And the Minotaur was the son of a woman called Pasiphae, and her husband was the king of Crete called Minos. He'll be kind of important in the story. I probably won't ask about Pasiphae specifically, but King Minos is important. He's the king of Crete, so it's M-I-N-O-S is how you spell Minos' name, M-I-N-O-S. And so King Minos is the king of Crete, and his wife has this child that's called the Minotaur, and I haven't showed it to you yet. The Minotaur is half bull and half man, so that's Minotaur comes from the Latin word meaning bull, and Minotaur, M-I-N-O, is from Minos, so it's the bull of Minos. So Pasiphae has this Minotaur, and you can see the little Minotaur baby there being nursed by Pasiphae. And here you see another statue that's depicting the Minotaur, kind of a common artistic thing, the Minotaur, just kind of a weird thing to wrap your mind around, a bull man, a bull human. It's kind of weird. Usually he's depicted with a man, strong man body, and then maybe a bull head and horns and stuff. Occasionally you'll see him depicted like this with more of a bull body, but more often it's the body of a man, like a strong man, and then the head of a bull. So that's just important to know who and what the Minotaur is. Now, Minos, like I said, his wife had the Minotaur, and Minos was very embarrassed about this. He didn't want anyone to know about the Minotaur, that his wife had this bull baby. It was a very embarrassing thing for him. And so he wanted to put the Minotaur out of sight so people wouldn't know about it, wouldn't ask about it, wouldn't learn about it. And so he can't just kill the Minotaur. We've talked before about how the gods would frown upon, even for a bull baby, even for the Minotaur, just killing the Minotaur. So he could not do that. So what he decides to do is he wants to hide the Minotaur. So it's going to be alive, but no one's ever going to see it or find it or learn about it. And so he has one of his men who's a pretty smart engineer called Daedalus. Daedalus, it comes up in a couple other mythology stories, but Daedalus is D-A-E-D-A. L-U-S. You can look him up also. He's pretty famous if you look at him on Google or something. And Daedalus is an engineer and inventor, and so he tells Daedalus, hey, I need something to keep the Minotaur out of sight, out of mind. And so Daedalus goes to work and he builds this very large, complex maze structure called the Labyrinth, right? And that's on Crete, like kind of underground below the palace. And the idea was the Minotaur will live in this labyrinth, we'll feed him sometimes, but people aren't going to be going to see him. And it's so complex, the labyrinth, he will not be able to get out or find his way out into society. So Daedalus builds a labyrinth for Minos. Minos is happy with it, and that is where the Minotaur is trapped. Now, later on, you have a war, which happened a lot in the ancient world, between Crete, because Crete was like a kingdom at that point, King Minos, and then also the kingdom of Athens. Athens was another independent Greek kingdom at that time, both two of the more powerful Greek kingdoms, and they went to the war. And the king of Athens, he was on the first screen, but his name is Theseus. You can go back and peek at that. It's T-H-E-S-E. I'm sorry, Theseus is his son. Excuse me if I confused you. The king's name is Aegeus. He's also on the first screen. Let me go back just so there's no confusion. So the king of Athens is Aegeus right here. He's the king of Athens, and Theseus is his son. So the war is between Athens, led by Aegeus, and Crete, which is led by Minos. And so at the end of this war, at the end of the day, Crete ends up winning the war. The actual battles and stuff of the war aren't specifically important in this story, but it is important to know that Crete wins this war. And in the ancient world, when you win a war, you get to kind of give terms of surrender to the other side. And so you get to tell them you owe us this much payment for the war, or various things it could be. And so one of the things that Minos puts in the treaty that ends the war, because he was on the winning side, he says that this took a really heavy toll. Minos actually lost a son in the war, so he was especially bitter about the ending of the war. So he says that one thing that must happen is that every year the people of Athens will send sacrifices, 7 young men and 7 young women, to Crete, and then we will sacrifice those boys and girls. Pretty grisly thing. Now, he doesn't tell everyone this, but what he's going to do to sacrifice these Athenians is feed them to the Minotaur, put them in a labyrinth, and let the Minotaur have their way with them. Okay, so it's a pretty crazy way to sacrifice people. So this goes on for a number of years, and of course people are upset and scared about it because these children are chosen and the families lose their son or daughter. It's a horrific thing. And finally, someone steps up and says, I want to put an end to this, and that is Theseus. He was also on the first screen. He was the king's son, and he's a young man now. He's getting older. He's strong. He's capable, and he volunteers to go as one of these sacrifices, as one of these tributes. He volunteers, and the idea being that I'm going not just to be eaten, but I'm going to kill the Minotaur, and I'm going to put an end to this reign of terror so that this doesn't happen to any more Athenians. Now, his dad Aegeus tries to talk him out of this because it's a pretty, it's like a death sentence, he thinks. He begs him, don't go, you don't need to go, you don't need to volunteer. But Theseus is brave, and he kind of persists, and he tells his father, I'm going to take care of this. And so that's what happens. So Theseus goes along that year with the other sacrifices, the other tributes to Crete, and when they land at Crete, Theseus gets there, and one of the people that sees him is the princess of Crete, and you see her here in this picture, and her name is Ariadne. She's the princess, which means she's the daughter of Minos, King Minos. And so Ariadne sees Theseus, and she's immediately taken with him. He's young, he's strong, he's handsome, he's this kind of outsider from Athens, and she kind of falls in love with him just upon seeing him. And so she sneaks into Theseus' cell or wherever he's staying before the sacrifice, and she offers to help him. She tells him, if you, I will help you, and if I can help you defeat the Minotaur, then the only thing I want is when you leave the island of Crete, take me with you. She wants to get away from Crete, but she also wants to be with Theseus. And so Theseus tells her, okay, if you help me, I promise to take you with me. And so that's exactly what happens. And so, how can she help him? She can't really help him fight the Minotaur because battling the Minotaur is kind of a thing that's up with Theseus. But what she can help with is escaping the labyrinth, right? The labyrinth is one of the things, once you kill the Minotaur, you must also get out of the labyrinth, which is super complex and supposed to be impossible for most people to find their way out of, like a very, very complex maze. And so, she tells him, I can help you with that. So she actually talks to Daedalus. She looks to Daedalus for information. He gives her some hints and secrets. And what they come up with, and it's actually kind of a simple explanation, but sometimes simple is good, that she gives Theseus this long ball of string. And the idea was that he's one end she will hold, and as he goes into the labyrinth, the string is tied to him. And when he kills the Minotaur, he'll be able to follow the string and find his way back out. Okay, so it's a simple way to do it, but it seems like it makes sense. And so, long story short, Theseus heads in with the other sacrifices. He's ready, though. He's not caught unaware. He's ready to fight. And when he faces down with a Minotaur, I'm sure it was kind of a big, epic battle, he does accomplish his mission and kills the Minotaur. So Theseus is successful here. And here you see Ariadne in this picture giving Theseus the string and telling him what to do. Here you see the Minotaur lurking up behind Theseus. And this is a very famous story in mythology, so you see a lot of depictions of it here. Here's a statue of Theseus kind of beating the Minotaur into submission. It's a very heroic thing to take out the Minotaur and save your people from all this horror. And here you see a mosaic, and right in the center of it, you see Theseus defeating the Minotaur there. A very nice mosaic. He's defeated the Minotaur. He uses the string to find his way out, and all is going well for him. Of course, Minos would not be happy about this. And then Ariadne says, please take me with you. Let's leave right away. And he agrees. He had told her he would. He's a man of his word, so he agrees to take her. And so they basically leave as quickly as they can, and they are sailing back to Athens because she wants to leave before her father realizes what's going on. Her father would not want her to leave with Theseus, so she has to do it before her father realizes what's going on. So on the way back to Athens, one little interesting thing happens, a little tidbit to this story. They stop on an island to probably rest and maybe get water and supplies and stuff. They stay on that island for a night, and at night, Theseus, he didn't plan on doing anything, but he has one of the gods appear to him in a vision and tell him that you need to leave Ariadne. You're not supposed to have her with you. You need to leave her on this island. So it's a pretty harsh thing. It sounds really harsh, but basically he leaves Ariadne on that island, and he wakes his men up and tells them we need to go, and he and his men leave poor Ariadne on the island. So it wasn't Theseus' idea, but the gods told him to, so he had to do it. Now when Ariadne wakes up, she's upset. She can't believe that Theseus would do this to her. He promised. But eventually one of the gods pay her a visit, and that is Dionysus. And Dionysus tells her, I had Theseus leave because I was in love with you, I'm in love with you, and I wanted to be with you. And eventually Ariadne does get married in mythology to Dionysus. So kind of worked out for her, but for a while it was bad for her because she thought Theseus left her and that, she had been abandoned. So that's just a little aside of what happens to Ariadne. Now, Theseus heads home. Before he had left, his father had given him one instruction. He told him, when you're heading back, I want to know whether you've been successful or not. I got to know whether my son is coming back alive and he was triumphant, or whether my son is dead. If he's dead, I can prepare myself and know that you're not going to be on that ship. So what I want you to do is, when you're heading back, put up the white sail on your ship if you're alive, so I can know as soon as I see that ship way out in the distance, I can know Theseus, my son, is alive. If Theseus is dead, tell your men to put up the black sail. I want to know right away that my son didn't make it. I can prepare myself for that. So as they're sailing back, these are their instructions, and they're coming back on the boat, and they're probably excited. They're partying. They're having a good time. They're celebrating. And Theseus forgets his father's instructions, and he does not put up the white sail. He accidentally leaves the black sail on the ship. And of course, Aegeus is going to look at this and think, oh my goodness, my son didn't make it. He's dead. And Aegeus is very, very upset by this. And when he sees the black sail, he just thinks, my son didn't make it. And he just can't live with this. And so Aegeus goes to the ocean, which Athens is pretty close to, and he throws himself off of a cliff into the ocean below, right? So very bad part of the story here, because it's almost just like a mistake between the two, right? Theseus wasn't actually dead, of course, but he just mistakenly, there's a lot of stories in mythology where there's like a mistaken signal or something that leads to something like this. So this supposedly Cape Sunion, this is obviously real, but this is supposedly where he threw himself off into the Aegean Sea. So when Theseus gets back, he has to live with the fact that, he killed his father by not displaying the correct sail and not following instructions. And so it's a kind of a bittersweet ending there. By the way, Aegeus, you might recognize his name. That sea that he throws himself into, we nowadays call the Aegean Sea. And yes, that is supposedly named for someone called Aegeus in mythology who threw himself into the sea because his son was not alive anymore. So that's the Aegean Sea, which we learned about when we studied geography earlier this year. So Theseus is involved in some other stories. He's kind of a popular hero in mythology, but that is certainly one of his most famous stories, especially going along with the Minotaur. You can find that story told in a bunch of different ways online if you want some more details and everything, but hopefully that was a helpful one for you. Next, I want to go over with you guys the exercise you did, which was exercise A on page 84. We're dealing with third declension neuter nouns here, and I want to go over the answers with you. If you missed something or you didn't know how to do one, now's the time for you to go over that. And if you don't understand one of them, even after watching this video, follow up with me in my office hours. I can explain to you exactly what you didn't understand. Okay. Now, the first one you had to decline was corpus magnum. This is one of our new neuter words, corpus, corporis, neuter, meaning body, right? Now, notice how the adjective here, it has to be declined with which endings? Neuter endings, because this word is neuter. Now, will these endings be the same? No, because these endings are third declension neuter, but this adjective is a second declension neuter adjective. So that's what's really crucial here. So look how they don't look the same. Corpus magnum, those are not the same, right? So check out the endings here. We learned the endings yesterday. Be chanting them and be practicing them. Remember, you're going to want to know this third declension. It's the biggest one. It's the most common one. Blank for the nominative. Blank is e blank e. a, ibis, a, ibis. Those are the third declension neuter endings, and blank means that these are both the same. Okay, so corpus magnum, corporis magni, corpori magno. That's dative. Let me move this. I'm kind of in your way here. The accusative is corpus magnum. Now this one might be tricky. This one, these use the base. The base is right here, corpor. The base comes from the genitive, but the accusative is the only one that doesn't use the base. Why? Because it has to be identical to the nominative. But look how all the rest use the base, the ablative, and then all the plural ones. So the accusative is corpus magnum, which means large body, and then the ablative is corpore magno. The plural is corpora magna, corporum magnorum, corporibus magnis, corpora magna, and then corporibus magnis. Okay, so that is how corpus magnum, the large body, a big body, would decline. Again, pop in and see me. If there's something here that I'm explaining you still don't quite understand, you're going to want to understand this really well for the next quiz. The next word you did was Carmen Verum, which means true song or true poem. This word is also neuter, but its base is a little bit different, but these are going to have neuter endings as well from the second declension. So Carmen Verum, Carmenis Veri. Look at the change in the base here, right? There's an I here, not an E. The base comes from the genitive. The dative is Carmeni Vero. The accusative is Carmen Verum. These two have to be the same, nominative and accusative. And then the ablative is Carmene Vero. The nominative plural, Carmena Vera. Genitive plural, Carmena Verorum. Carmenibus Veris is the dative. Carmena Vera is the accusative. And then Carmenibus Veris is the ablative. So that's how you do Carmen Verum, which means a true song or a true poem. It's all based on, do you know this word's neuter? Do you know the neuter third declension endings? And then also, did you know that these two forms, the nominative and accusative, do have to be the same as each other? The last one to try, and you can see it did it right, was caput meum. Caput meum means simply my head, right? Caput means head. So this word is caput capitis, neuter. So this is going to have neuter endings over here, neuter second declension endings. And notice the base. The base is not caput. The base is capit because it comes from right here. So caput meum, capitis mei, capiti meo, caput meum, excuse me, and capite meo. The neuter rule says that these two have to be the same, the accusatives. Nominative plural, capita mea, capitum meorum, capitibus meis, capita mea, and ablative plural, capitibus meis. Okay. Remember, when we do a sign like this, the whole point is to be able to tell that these words agree with each other, so that in a sentence, you know they go with each other, and you can translate them together. That's the whole point. Once you can do that, you don't really need to do this and kind of write these out and practice these. But since they're new, you have to do that. But later on, like when I see capitibus meis in a sentence, I just know those go together. I could tell because of the endings that they're both either dative or ablative plural. So that's the key here, is being able to translate the Latin correctly. Okay. So I hope that's helped you guys a little bit to see if you did these right or did these wrong, or if there's some you have little problems that you needed to tweak. Again, come in to pop in my office hours, see me. If there's one of these you still didn't get what your problem was, I'm happy to talk to you. Some of you have been dropping by, and I love to talk to you and help you out. You will have an assignment to do today that you've seen already, but tomorrow I will not return with an assignment or a video because it's Good Friday, so we're having school off. So the next time I would post a video going over your assignment would be next Monday. So I hope you guys have a very good Easter weekend with your families. Hope everyone is staying happy and safe and doing okay with your time that's been mostly at home. And I'll try to have a good Easter weekend as well. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. At the very end of next week is probably when we'll have our quiz for chapter 15. All right. Happy Easter, and I will talk to you very soon. Walete.